I've got a long drive and a bit of time. Let's talk about all the things that you should look at when you are reviewing an offer on your property that are not the price. And if you're a buyer, this is for you too, because a lot of buyers just have no clue when they get into it, all the different things that they can negotiate and how. Usually with seller clients, when I tell them you've received an offer, the first question is always, what's the price? Well, I get it. I totally understand, such a key piece of information. There are so many things within an offer that can affect your net, number one, and number two, really dictate the strength of the offer that you've received, which is very important. You need to look at the length of escrow, length and type of contingencies, and there are two very important areas of the contract that are kind of just whatever. They're the other terms sections, and they're in two different spots, just other terms. So many times this can be overlooked. So let's break it down. You can receive an offer, but it's got a year-long escrow. For example, my client received an extremely high offer on their property, but the escrow was somewhere near a year long. And their contingencies were extremely long, like 200 days. So the seller says, hey, Kaylin, this price is really good. What do you think? Here's the thing. Our market is constantly changing. It's not the same that it was 2 weeks ago, 3 months ago, and certainly not the same that it was last year. We have no idea where the market is going to be in a year's time. And if someone is telling you that they do, they're lying. No one has a crystal ball. There are too many factors in play. While yes, this person was dangling a carrot in front of us, it really is not a strong offer because the contingencies are so long, anything can change. You have no idea what they're going to try to negotiate until that time comes, and the market could be completely shifted by that point. So that's one thing. And there are several factors that go into considering whether or not that makes it a strong offer. The other is contingencies, length of them, and the types. Hidden within the offer is a very, very important checkbox that says if the offer is contingent on the sale of the buyer's property. Their entire offer depends on their ability to sell their own property. So that means you will be on the hook during their escrow. And you need to figure out if their property is, number one, on the market yet, number two, in contract, or number three, not even prepped for market yet. That could be a huge gamble, depending on a number of circumstances. So it absolutely is something to weigh and to consider. Now, why contingencies are important, the length and the type, because when you write an offer, when a buyer writes an offer, it's not set in stone. You know, they put in an earnest money deposit, that's their skin in the game, but they have the opportunity to either try to renegotiate or back out of the contract, depending on what contingencies that they have. You're not really resting easy as a seller until those contingencies are released, because otherwise something could happen. Now, it's standard in our area for contingencies to be involved, and that totally changes upon the type of our market that we're in. And let me tell you, over the last year and a half, it's just been the whole spectrum. At times it was standard for non-contingent offers, which can be very scary as a buyer. Up until recently, totally standard if you had a loan to have a loan and appraisal contingency as well as a standard length physical contingency. And the physical contingency ultimately is your investigation contingency and your disclosure review contingency. It's a big one. So you're always going to want to look at, as a seller, you're always going to want to look at the length of those contingencies. So you know how long you'll be in the engagement phase versus we're doing this phase. So the other term sections are like a free-for-all. I've seen some crazy stuff. But with the financing terms, lots of times what you'll see is a buy down, credit, some contributions, one way or the other. So that can totally affect the net. So always look there, because sometimes it can be overlooked. I mean, you can see so many different things negotiated. Different contingencies sometimes are written in there. Different things that the buyer wants to do to the property prior to ownership. They can also put in things like what the seller is going to pay for, like the Section 1 work of the pest report. The list goes on. Anything truly can be negotiable in a real estate transaction. So always look at the other terms. You never know. As a side, you're always going to want to check what they put in for what stays and what goes with the property. Even if you included in your listing that the heirloom chandelier in the dining room does not convey with the property, but if they include it in the contract, you gotta include it. Okay, so I think those are the big ones. Is it real estate fun?